Stop. I'm trying to like prepare myself to host. You need to take like a second to do this. Here we go. Just everybody be quiet. Everybody be quiet.
Very dramatic.
This has been 2 weeks before I did this intro, so
Oh my god.
Ready.
Oh my god.
Let him have his moment, please.
Ready? Stop. Hey everyone, and welcome to the 62nd episode of We're All in the Same Boat. We are back, and it feels great. I'm your host, Luke Roxwold, and today I am here with Shayne.
What's up, everyone?
Nick.
Yo.
And Matt.
Hello.
And as always, you can check us out on SoundCloud and iTunes and Google Play. And what?
What?
New place? Well, not yet.
Oh, so are we on Spotify now? Oh, dang, I'm all excited.
No, we are in the process
Stitcher.
of being accepted to Stitcher, yeah.
Expanding the audience.
So
I made that
you
way
are
less
What's that?
eventful.
running, it's another app. So hold up, let me finish the intro, you guys. Okay, so as always, you can check us out on all of those platforms. You are running out of excuses to not listen to us because we are available on everything. So if you don't listen, you don't support us. It's okay. That's all right. But if you want to support us, you can leave us a review or tweet at us at WAITSB podcast. Welcome to the show, everyone.
So
Welcome.
It feels good to be
I really
back.
don't like Stitcher. I don't like Stitcher.
I have never used
What
it.
is...
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I prefer the
I don't have an opinion
iTunes
yet.
or Spotify.
Yeah, I
iTunes.
use iTunes because I have
That's a
an iPhone.
controversial opinion.
Yeah. Hold up.
Well, you have a Mac.
I know that Shayne does not have an iPhone. Matt does not have an iPhone.
I had an
Shayne's
iPhone.
a good guy. I like Shayne already.
Oh my
I used to
gosh.
have an iPhone. I had several iPhones. Then I had switched to
Swapped.
Android.
Good for you, man. I'm glad you decided to better yourself.
I love that
Good.
the ad, it's like good for you. It's like he stopped drinking. Like, yeah, good for you, man. You moved
You did
away
it,
from
man.
that iPhone
We were all
garbage.
worried about you. Yeah,
Oh man,
we were all
you know what?
concerned.
Good for you, man. Nick, do you have an iPhone?
I do.
Oh man,
But you
Time for
used
an
to have an
intervention.
Android.
But
I'm here for you,
Yeah.
buddy.
I did move away from Android. I just wanted a phone that I could count on. So
Oh,
so you
Boom.
okay?
Below the belt, right there. That's just not nice.
I never got the latest phone ever when it came to Android, and that was the problem. And so when I switched to the iPhone SE, which is just like the offshoot of the iPhone 5, it works fine because iOS is not that bad, I guess. It's just
the
optimized.
iPhone. The that really is the worst iPhone. Though.
I mean,
It
It has good
kinda
battery
is.
life. Oh yeah, it's a horrible like phone, but it does work.
Speaking
I think
of,
the iPhone is used by more grandparents than any other phone, I would imagine.
Yeah, I stopped getting into like the deep customization stuff, and then once that happened, I was just like, okay, I just want to make a call.
Yeah, ease of use.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
completely understandable.
That was how.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like,
I'm
I
gonna go to a
get
flip
it.
phone soon.
I get it, you guys. You just need your simple apps. It's true.
I had a flip phone maybe 3 years ago.
I feel like it'd be better to have a flip phone in a lot of ways. You get off all these social media apps. Speaking of which,
That's what I did. Yeah.
I feel like Snapchat is dead.
Yay! Let's have a drink, boys.
It was never a laugh for me.
Why do you feel like it's dead?
Because I hate it and I never use it anymore.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
so
judge-
because you don't use it,
I judge
it's
the
dead.
entire world
I mean,
based on what I do.
at least you're ahead of the curve before it dies out and becomes not cool anymore.
I think Instagram kind of
Well,
killed it off.
There's everything
Yay.
that Snapchat was about. Every other social media does what they do now. So it's like, no. The whole point of Snapchat was sending things to your friends and having a story. But you can put a story on everything.
right.
Yeah, that whole story thing, it's so funny because Snapchat started it and every single thing was like, hey, let's do this thing that was really good on this other app. It's like Snapchat wasn't fast enough to copyright it or patent it or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And everybody stole it. So then Snapchat just died. So I was thinking about that earlier today because I had like 3 people add me randomly on Snapchat today, just out of nowhere. And I
Mr.
realized
Popular.
how little I use this app now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You're looking down your nose at them. I was like, I don't even use Snapchat.
I know.
anymore.
It's like,
People are
you
adding me on here.
nerds. This is old news.
Yeah, the
No
future
one
of it
uses this
is
now.
definitely like the future of it is definitely being discussed at the moment. Like they're not doing great.
Yeah, the people over there are definitely staying awake at night wondering if they're going to have a job.
I still think Instagram is the best one at this point.
Yeah.
Out of Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat,
I
Facebook.
only
Facebook's
hear
trash.
positive things about Instagram.
You don't
Like,
have an
no one
That's
Instagram.
the
do
only
you?
one that has positivity.
I do not have an Instagram.
Dude, Facebook tanked. It tanked like 30%.
Yeah, it did. It
On the
really
stock market?
like it's
They lost. It was the first time they ever recorded a loss in user base.
oh wow. Yeah.
It went from $208 a stock, or excuse me, $214 a stock, down to $171 a stock.
Wow.
So, if you're counting, that's about like
A lot.
That's like a 45 to 50 point drop.
He just threw up. Like that's like
That's like yeah. Zuckerberg probably lost like a few, like maybe not $1 billion. I don't know, but that's something like that.
That's there's two things that I noticed today that I wanted to bring up. One of them was the fact that I noticed that I never use Snapchat anymore. No, I don't even use the story like to get attention.
That's all I do
and
now. I don't even send things to anyone anymore. I just post my story and then get off and
I get more
watch
attention
story.
from
Don't even watch stories.
right. Oh, actually, and some of the stuff we're talking about right now is actually going to translate interestingly into our main topic. But I was going to say that I get more attention on Instagram, and I just
I can
use
see
that
you
now.
as a guy that would probably get a lot of attention on Instagram. Yeah,
That's right, because all those mirror
strong. It's like-
thighs.
I think you need
Yeah.
Because I'm yeah,
Spam accounts from
you
India.
need you need to post more frequently.
yeah. I was doing really well at one point, but then I fell off the train.
It's really
side
hard.
hustle, man. You got to stay on top of it.
That's right.
Those
Okay.
ladies want that eye candy on a regular basis.
It's the daily grind.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up, and I will reference the reason that I brought that up a little later on in the podcast. But to get everyone
Spoilers.
started into the main reason, or the main reason. What am I saying? It's been too long, guys. I can't do this anymore.
We're gonna talk politics.
No. I actually have a guy who wants to talk on politics, by the way, Nick. He's ready
I'm
to debate.
in.
So
What?
that will be a
Wait,
fun-
really?
Hesitation.
Yeah.
What does he want to debate?
Probably stuff that's going to be controversial and you guys will disagree on. So I'm really excited.
You're just gonna leave it open ended?
We haven't decided what it's going to be exactly, but that will be coming soon. It's Caleb. He was the guy who was on the Infinity Wars
I
episode.
love Caleb.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
Caleb's
love
awesome.
Caleb.
He's ready
Caleb's the
to
best.
he's ready to debate, and so I'm really
Debate
excited.
what?
I don't know. We'll figure it
Debate
out.
you.
This is like I
he
don't
just
know.
wants to debate you.
I've only
relevant
thought
topic.
this.
Whatever you bring to the table.
I
I
was
bring
coming.
nothing to the table.
Hold on.
Well,
I was
then we're
coming up
discussing that.
with. I was coming up with topics to tie into this episode today.
What
so
are we even
as
talking
for
about?
like next week, I don't know. You guys will debate something. I'll figure it out. You'll figure it
Cool.
out.
You
Okay,
can't have
but-
extra time to prepare. Caleb needs extra time. You don't need the extra
Okay,
time.
so we are not talking about politics. We are talking about currencies, money, value,
The roots of all evil.
BitConnect. I don't know. So I can just jump into my questions, but I kind of want to.
Let's all talk about how much money we have.
Yeah, what's your
All right.
income and your
Let's,
social security number?
Let's
Your
take out our
M0.
bank accounts. I'll make it easy for you. Look at
Uh,
look how much money you have on your desk right now. That's probably how much money I have, around that much.
That's nothing.
Keep
So-
it up, man.
I wanted to bring up a few questions that I had about this because I recently have been really trying to figure out finances, stock, the art of investing.
All the
And
fun
it's-
things.
Yeah, and it's complicated. Like someone was explaining to me the housing crisis and how it started and then what kept it going, and then what caused the bubble, and then how it popped, and it's complicated. And then I looked up like bonds and mutual funds and index funds and equity and like all these new words that I didn't know them as I was like watching videos and reading stuff. It was like assets, and I was like, you know what? If I had to write down the definition of asset, I don't actually know what that would be. And so I was really diving deep, trying to get a very firm understanding, because I feel like understanding finances and money is really important. And so that's why I've got Matt as one of our guests today. Matt, what is it that you do again? I can't quite remember the title.
I am transitioning into a portfolio management role with a bank, and I'm not at liberty to disclose which bank.
That's fine. No worries.
That would be terrible.
Right.
But yeah, it's truly excites me. I could talk about it all day. Probably longer than anyone listening to this would ever want to listen to. But it's definitely one of my passions in life.
Yeah, those
from a young age.
What exactly is you said a portfolio manager?
Yeah,
What is
commercial
that?
portfolio manager, managing, I guess, the understanding of credit and business exposure towards the bank I work for between 2 and 10 million, and I guess business, you'd say.
Yeah, I know that, like, I've known Matt for probably since high school, really. We got to know each other as we got older. But I remember him and I used to go to the gym together. And, like, as we're lifting, getting strong, he would just be
5
talking
pounds.
to me about, Shayne. He'd be giving me tips like, look at here's he's like, here's what you do. You put this amount of money in the bank, then you pull it out, and then you throw this in over here, mix this stuff up in here, and then before you know it, $100,000 every year. Like all these.
It's a recipe for success right there.
Right. And like, I know, like, that's not obviously not exactly what he said, but that's kind of what it sounded like to me. Like, just, just mix this with that and then do this and money. And it's not until recently, now that's been like 8 years later, that I'm like, maybe I should try and figure out some of the things that Matt was telling me to do. And now, Nick, you own a house, so I know you've obviously done a certain amount of finance, or I know there's a certain amount of finance that's involved, like purchasing a home,
Sure,
having a mortgage, all that lovely kind of stuff. And you've also been,
you've also the biggest investment I've ever done. So
yeah, really, it's like, I bought this house. It's not the most expensive thing I own, but what I was going to say is that you are coming to this podcast with a little bit of research in currencies, and I know you've been looking up a lot of this stuff, so I don't even want to get into exactly what you're going to talk about, but you're going to be a good contributor to the conversation. And Shayne, I'm just excited to have you back because you've been gone forever.
Yeah, me too. Good to see you, Shayne.
Perfect. Yes, good to
Long time no
not
see.
see
Hear
you as
you.
well, Nick.
Hear you.
But yes, to hear you.
I'm imagining you right now.
Sounds so genuine.
I'm also imagining myself right now as well.
So let's get started. What do you guys think about value? And if you could define it in such a way as it relates to money, like, how would you do that? Like, what do you think about?
Oh, this question excites me already.
Oh, I'm good. Okay, good. I thought it was a dumb question. Tell me. Take over.
So,
I've been talking a lot. Go for it.
So price is what you pay, value is what you receive, right? So on any given day, if you're going to go out and purchase a stock on the stock market, it's trading at a price that is the cost of what you pay. But the value associated with that particular stock could be radically different. And it's based off of what the market or what we perceive the value to be. So,
in the market, that's a whole podcast in of itself, but I know that it's almost like this fluctuating thing that nobody fully understands, but it changes the value of different companies, and everyone's trying to beat this kind of unreadable graph, basically. It's like no one knows where it's going to go, but if you can beat it, then you can make money. And that's kind of the weird side of this. It's like, wait, what? How does it even work?
Right.
You're exactly right. Like no mind out there can determine which way the stock market's going to go. And if they could, they wouldn't be talking to you. They'd just be out there making tons and tons of money. Right. So it's very interesting, and there are a lot of strategies consumers like us can use to produce long-term success in the market. There isn't like one pick that's going to just make you rich overnight, unless you have insider information or if you're speculating.
Do you
get lucky?
Both, all three of you, we're talking about a little bit about value, but what makes something valuable? If you could, I'm trying to figure out a way to ask these questions in a way that allows us to expand on this topic a little bit, because if I think about it, gold has value, a car has value, a house has value, the housing market, but things fluctuate, and so it's like, what is it that makes something worth something?
I think for me, I think about like supply and demand,
Sure,
and kind of that principle in some way when it comes to like things like of value and what people associate worth to, I guess, for different reasons. Because when I was studying my work in the stock market before I bought my house, and I did a lot of day trading, I had to study a lot of psychological aspects, I guess, of people's personality and what they act upon, whether it's instinctively or non-instinctively. So
how does that fit into buying a house? Why would you want to know what people psychologically think?
Well, you can really apply that idea to like almost any market. So if you look at something like the housing market, why would people want to move to this neighborhood, in this city, in this district, in this county, in the state? And you analyze like on these different factors and think about what people at this time in history are lending value to. And you try to ride that out as much as you can, I guess, in a general sense, because you still can't predict people. No one can predict the future, right? But you can make your odds closer to an expectation depending on the evidence. And that's
so you were guessing. So when you were like buying your house, you were looking at. Can I say where you live? Do you mind, or should I keep that under wraps?
Just in Colorado.
Okay, so when you were looking at places in Colorado, you thought there's a good possibility that there's going to be a boom of people moving into the state type thing.
Mm-hmm. And there was a few things I saw. Just the weed industry was one. The weather was really nice. I noticed how healthy everyone was here. I noticed that. Yeah. Well, it's the least obese state, right? So this is. And heart disease is the top.
I didn't know that.
Heart disease is the top killer in the United States. So you think to yourself, okay, if people are afraid of dying, maybe they'll come to a healthier state. So you analyze on all these different aspects and you make the best educated guess you can.
That is very interesting. I would have never thought to think of that when buying a house. Like, what are people dying of?
Supply and demand,
and how are they
going
to try to avoid that? But that's like an inside thing. That's kind of where the market works.
Yeah,
where it's like someone's going to think of something that other people don't think of.
There's a great scene in Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort, played by Leo. He talks about selling this pen and kind of the principle, and like it ends up being like a teaching moment for supply and demand. And it's very short but very precise and to the point. And I'm like,
it's a great scene.
What's the scene, just for those of the listeners who haven't seen the movie?
Go for it, Matt.
So,
have you seen this, Shayne, by the way? I know I've seen it, but I don't remember
Wolf of Wall Street? Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
So
I actually don't remember the scene, so it'll be good to refresh it.
They're in a diner, and they're all eating.
Yes.
And they're all just BSing, and basically, Leo pulls out a pen, and he's like, "Sell me this pen." So.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Matt,
yeah,
take
yeah.
over.
Wow, that's about as well as I could have unpacked it myself. And then the gentlemen around the table start kind of deferring on the idea of selling the pen, and one guy at the end of the table, he says, "Okay, I'll sell you this pen." Then he convinces the guy that Jordan, that he needs to assign something, and he has the only pen, so it's has inherent value associated with it due to
Right.
the fact that he needs the pen to be able to do business. So.
Right.
Oh, and then there's a
Because
couple.
I think I remember. Because I was going to say, I remember, just to fill in a little bit more info from when, now that you're mentioning it, I'm remembering the scene a little bit better. It's like the first guy gets it, and it's like, oh, this is a good-looking pen. Look at how shiny it is. It's got a good weight to it. Like, kind of talking about how the pen is a nice thing to have. And then, like you said, the final guy goes, I've got this pen. Hey, I need you to sign this sheet of paper. And he goes, I can't. And he goes, why not? I don't have a pen. Exactly. And that's you need to have this pen right now.
Boom.
Right. There's a utility aspect to it. There's a demand aspect to that. Yeah, exactly.
So money, I was trying to think about this, and I'm going to tell you guys some of my thoughts and just see how you react to them. I was trying to think of what money is specifically, because you could say like, oh, it's a currency. It's what you spend to get stuff. But what is money at like a base value? And I was trying to think through if it was like, is it representation of your time? It's a representation of like the input that you put into the economy? You know, because like a rich person, so like why is a rich person rich and a poor person poor? And I was just in like a perfect world, because obviously you can have rent seekers and all that complicated stuff. Nick, I'm sure you know a little bit about this, and we might go into that some. But a rich person, in theory, should be rich because they're adding more value to the economy. So the economy is basically like, hey, you're making us more valuable, so now you have more, you're able to get more things right now. Do you guys consider that accurate, or do you want to challenge me on that?
In capitalism, that is absolutely accurate.
What do you mean exactly?
You are rewarded for the value that you add to society, whether it's spontaneous invention or developing a trade that others are not willing to take the time to learn, like brain surgery, right? It takes 10 years to become a brain surgeon, and you should be compensated accordingly.
Well, and it's also like if let's say I invent a pen, like I invented it, I made it. I'm adding a lot to the economy because of the invention of the pen, because people can now write things down. So I make a ton of money because the economy, this mass, I think it's interesting to think of the market or the economy as like this.
Hey guys,
it's almost like a deal with the devil. It's so weird. It's like, I give you this pen, now you give me all this stuff. I get this money so that I can get a good house, I can get a car, I can get through lines faster, I can get out of jail more easily, you know?
Right.
And it's like a deal with the economy or a deal with the devil in a way. And that's not to make it sound bad. I just was thinking about this, and this is part of the reason that I wanted to bring this up.
Take note of what Luke is saying. And yes, that's a pun that was intentional. But, yeah.
But I don't have a pen!
Should have bought one.
Nick, what are some of the things you were reading about?
So before I bought my house, I guess. Do you mean just in general what I've read about?
Yeah, like because I know I told you I like this podcast. I'm trying some kind of new experimental things, and so I was just like, "Hey, Nick, go research," and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Just go on the internet and figure it out." And so now I'm checking in, like, "Hey, what did you research and what did you find out?" But in relation to the house that you bought and anything else.
Yeah, I guess in general, like my finance journey started pretty early. I got a halfway decent job and right out of college because I had an internship, and
Nice.
And I was just doing programming on the side while I was doing. So it was the worst semester of my life in college.
It started out sounding so positive, and then all of a sudden it's like, Oh, it's the
It was
worst.
the worst semester of my life. I did
Well, I
so
mean,
much coding that
It
semester.
became so positive because it started out from such a low place, you know. So like life could only go up from there, right?
Oh yeah.
True.
Oh man, I drank a lot after I was done with that semester. Jeez, 'cause I couldn't even drink 'cause I had to focus. Oh, it was horrible. Anyway, so I got started early trying to save up money, and so I started learning finance rules and just kind of like the basics of put more money in than you take out, and budgeting and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then from there on out, I kind of got more into investing. Started learning about compound interest, index funds, things like that. And
Which is what I'm learning right now.
Yeah. And then I did some reading, and I learned about things like options. Do you guys know what options are?
Option.
Like
mean
on
in
a
a
basic
general-
level, or
I was
like,
like, you mean in general, like with
But-
when I, like when I go somewhere and I'm the best looking person in the room, I have options.
oh
Right, yeah.
yikes!
It's just different. It's a different way to trade
Yikes.
stocks. That's for
he's,
sure.
What?
He's hedging his bets right here. Yeah.
Right.
But that's when I started getting into like day trading and things like that, and learning about these crazy day trading deals that people were making $5, $6, $7 like a day. Millionaires just like sitting at home trading, and I'm just like, this is very interesting.
that-
How do they do
that's
this?
like
I
a
didn't
person-
know this was this kind of podcast.
No, but so like you're saying that there's somebody in their basement with like 1,000. This is what I picture, like 7 monitors with just like stock information. Then they're like, okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, trade, and then they're like trading things just at the right time, right before it drops.
Yeah.
Or like there's all these calculations and math, a notepad, and a pen in their hand. Is that what it is? Am I thinking about this correctly, or am I
Yeah, just to give you an idea,
turning this into a Hollywood movie?
I had my best and my worst trade happen at the same time. So I was up $8,000 in 5
Whoa.
minutes on one
What?
trade, and then I went down to 3, and then I went under $3,000 in less than 20 seconds. So that's how crazy this.
Whoa!
That is heartburn right there.
Oh,
That is
man.
how crazy it can get. I ended
And
up
you're like,
taking a
and
loss,
that's
but
when I started drinking.
and then I pull out a bottle. Dude, it was a learning experience
So
for
go
sure.
Go back. I want to
but-
think about it. So you bought a stock
Mm-hmm.
and knew the exact time to trade. Hold on, I'm lost. How did you? So you made $8,000 in a few seconds and lost it in a few more seconds.
Yeah, basically.
Like
So-
how does that happen?
So I was just kind of starting out, didn't really know what I was doing, but I joined a chat room who was trading like certain stocks, and I was just trying to get into it, and I ended up just like I was super impulsive at the time, and
Apparently.
and I just put a bunch of money into this one stock. I was like, you know what, F it, and I just went in hard, and I was making tons and tons and tons of cash, and I'm watching this line go up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And like I'm reading things, and I'm like, oh man, this is great. And then what happened was a hit piece came out on the company as soon as that trade happened. People read it. It was a this was a company that's not very reliable, so
Right.
people didn't have a lot of confidence in it. So they were just trading it because they were trying to manipulate the price stock because it was easy to do so. And I can get into that, how they do that, but
Yeah, let's talk about one thing really quick. So
Yeah.
for anybody who doesn't know much about stock trade and the market, we talked about it a little bit, but I guess and Nick, tell me, both Nick and Matt, you guys are like our experts here. And Shayne, I'm trying to find ways to kind of like work you into the conversation because I know, you and I are both like, we're not finance people and so I'm working on that. But it sounds like, from what I understand, the game is, am I able to guess what's going to be more valuable before everyone else? So
that's the idea.
Right. So if I went back in time before Amazon became $1 trillion company and said, hey, Amazon, I'm going to give you this money and you can use it to build your business, but now you owe me. or I at least own part of the company. And when the company gets huge, the amount of money that I paid also gets huge. Because that's like, if I say I own 10% of the company, and the company goes, if the company goes from $1,000, let's say the value of the company is $1,000, and then the company becomes a $1 billion company, that's 1,000,000 times bigger. So whatever money I put in at the beginning is now 1,000,000 times bigger. So if I put $100 into it, now it's 100 million.
Right.
And so what you were saying is your company, people were like, this company could be great or maybe not. So I'm not sure if I want to devote $100. Maybe I'll just devote $10 because
that almost didn't matter.
Tanks,
but that,
then I don't lose that money.
That almost didn't matter. It was almost like whether or not I have confidence in this company, I'm going to make a quick buck. And that's the idea with day trading, is that you go in and you go out. You don't invest in companies. You're going by what institutions are doing, and you're trying to predict along those lines. And so when the big money comes into these low-hanging stocks, your money's going to skyrocket.
So as an example, I think someone was telling me this. Like, let's say that Samsung is about to release a new phone, and you know that they're going to do that. And somehow you find out that the phone is going to have a specific type of battery that is a company that's not well known. So then you quickly go to that company, you buy a whole bunch of stock, because as soon as this phone comes out, the value of that company is going to possibly jump up.
Right.
But you're doing it at a small scale.
As long as that's public information, because if you were to receive that information and it is not public, if it's privately held information, that's called insider trading. And then you go spend time in jail for it.
And you go to jail.
Wearing orange.
Yep. Feels good.
That's right. You're expecting a lot of green, and all you got was orange.
Yikes.
I like that too much.
All right. So, Nick, so you were getting into the stock trade stuff, and you said you just put your money in. Everything's going great. Hit piece comes out. What happened next?
The stock dropped about $3. So is that $4 a stock? And I bought how much? Maybe 4,000 stocks in it.
Holy crap!
He's not messing around.
And then the stock.
You were
dropped,
saying you're being impulsive.
And then the stock dropped rapidly, and I lost like it. Here's the thing: I bought it like 2 something, so I was up like a bunch of money. I really can't recall this, honestly. I don't know how much I traded, but
no, that's fine.
I blacked out, I guess.
It's like when you're gambling, you're like, put it all on red.
Yeah.
And then then you lose all the money and you're like, I don't know what happened.
It's a perfect analogy.
It
really
still,
is
gambling.
It literally is gambling.
It didn't feel as bad as that one semester, but it definitely felt just like that. It was, it was a horrible moment. But I learned that the hard way, and then I decided to do more research, and then that's kind of how I discovered as much as I could about predictors that would help me, ideally, predict the future.
I actually didn't know you were into this much. I thought you were just kind of, you're a pretty smart guy, and so I thought you just kind of knew stuff. I didn't know you actually had some stories.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty heavily invested in it.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I did a lot of stuff, and I think I got lucky in the end, but I was able to afford a nice house, and then decided to not trade as much anymore and just focus on saving money with the house and investing long term.
He's become domesticated in his old age.
Yeah, when I was day trading, I had the luxury to do that. I just wasn't paying like rent or a mortgage, so I was living with my in-laws for 10 months. And yeah, I know. Yeah, they're great.
You get out of that situation, man. You're good.
No, that's why he was putting all that money into the stock. He's like, I gotta hit it big so I can get out.
Yeah, maybe if I do this, I can leave in 5 months instead. No, they're great. I mean, that's when I moved out to Colorado, and they, treated us. It was great, but yeah, it's a risky market for sure. You got to be patient. You got to have the right personality. It is not for and who is it? The guy that just went to jail, Martin Shkreli. Does anyone know who that is?
Yeah.
He went to jail for I don't know if it was like fraud, insider trading, something like that, something with his company. But he was a big investor. He made a lot of money. He was a millionaire, and he said investing's not for everyone. And he was very like honest about that. He's like, you have to be the right kind of person for this stuff.
As he's in handcuffs
steel.
going
Exactly.
As he's in handcuffs going to jail, like he's in handcuffs going to jail. He's like, "Hey, this isn't for everyone." Everyone's like, "Yeah, apparently it's not for you."
Yeah, it was something odd. Like he lied about something, but it ended up that he made more money on a riskier trade, but he didn't tell his investors about it. So it was something like that. So everyone
There's
made a
a
profit
lot of
in the
laws on this stuff.
end. Yeah,
Like, there's
everyone
a lot
made a
of
profit,
rules.
but it didn't matter. He still lied. And
There-
he was
there's
also
a
he was
whole
also a
government
jerk.
agency associated with it, the SEC.
Yeah,
They're good
yes,
people.
Oh, yep. Some people would disagree, but
Yeah, some people would.
we had a whole
for sure.
podcast on that one.
Yeah, right.
Matt, what about you? Do you have any stories about this sort of stuff? Have you gotten involved in any sort of stock things like this? I'm trying to learn from you guys'
so-
mistakes before I get into this.
That's
Shayne,
why-
Oh,
take
good luck
notes
with
too.
that, man. It's whew. So one of the popular sayings that the people I commonly talk to about stocks with and is you buy the hype and you sell the news. If you start digging into the day trading even a little bit, you'll start understanding that it's important to get into a stock early before the news hits, and then when the news hits, you sell. So you want to do your speculation on the before I guess the
Hold up. So let me
Take your
see if I can help clarify this. So you're saying that when you and I don't mean to do the Kathy Newman. So what you're saying is, but
you're good.
what you're saying is, it's like you're trying to. What you said that sell with the news, buy with the hype.
Yes, sir. So
So what does
buying
that
the
mean?
hype
What does he mean by the hype? Let's start with the hype. What does that mean?
So let's say if you believe that VR technology is going to be very popular in the next gaming console coming out, you may possibly want to purchase stock associated with the people that make the screens for the VR headsets, right?
Right.
So when Microsoft unrolls the news that they are going to have VR headsets associated with their next console, and they're going to be producing, 500,000 of them, and they'll be using this company to supply that, then, the equity of the stock associated with making VR headsets is going to skyrocket, right?
What does that mean by the hype though? What's hype mean? Because that's very similar. Sorry, that I'll let you finish, but like, it's very similar to the example that I gave. I'm trying to understand what you mean by like buy with the hype. It sounds like when everyone else is getting excited, buy the stock.
Sure. So
is that what it means?
Hype
though?
is speculative in nature. It is assuming a rumor. If you, let's say, believe that Amazon is going to do great things going forward, but you don't have anything to prove that, right? You don't have any historical metrics or anything as evidence of what you're saying. So you're
Right.
going to basically speculate they're going to do great because you believe in this organization or you believe in what they're going to do. You've done the research ahead of time, and you know that this is just going to be the next big thing, right? So you're probably not going to go wrong in buying what you believe in as a consumer, just being on the outside looking in and doing the research on the front end. If you do the research on the front end and you take your time and you don't just make irrational gut decisions based on your emotions, chances are your success is going to be much higher if you're not going to take a traditional long-term approach.
Because that sounds like don't buy on hype.
So
that's what I'm not understanding.
This is a phrase associated with the day trading aspect.
Yeah, it's more for day trading, less for actual like long-term investments.
Okay.
So
if you want to generate like true wealth, your best bet is just going the long-term route and investing in the market for the long run. That's how you're going to generate true wealth that is pretty risk-free. But if you're going to if you're just trying to make a quick buck, it's gambling, and
Yeah, it really is gambling, and it's so weird how all these sorts of strategies kind of they like pan in and out of a lot of things. So like I'm listening to all this stuff going, this is exactly the way the YouTube algorithm works. Where it's like you have to kind of know what the trend is before everyone else figures it out. And if everyone figures out like, oh, the trend is challenge videos, and it's like, oh, it is, but it's too late. Now everyone's making that video and it's saturated the market, and there's no market for that tag, for that search term.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of concept.
The first guys that did like prank videos are all rich now, and they don't do prank videos anymore. They don't have to.
Right. Well, it's not the market for that term deteriorate. No one's searching for prank videos anymore. That ship sailed in a lot of ways.
They already, a lot of them already made their money and moved on anyway. So
anyway, sorry, I Matt, you were talking about like stories that you had, and you were saying you were talking about your experience with some friends of yours talking about the process of
sure, yeah. So
day trading and stuff, and so I kind of ran you off in a different direction because I was curious. But keep going.
You're great. Day trading is just kind of a fun, interesting topic to talk about on a routine basis. It's a conversation you have around the water cooler with your peers.
Well, if you're a finance nerd, yeah.
No, come on. Everyone likes to.
Everyone likes to make a
dabble
quick
in the
buck,
idea
though.
of making money, right? So
yeah, everyone does.
And there's a variety of platforms that you can take advantage of and get involved with without paying fees, and it's easier to access than ever. Plus, there are alternative aspects that are positives, right? So if you start trading the market, you become more aware of what's happening in the market around you. So that all of a sudden you become a knowledgeable guy, understanding, how political tariffs affect what just happened in the market today. You can kind of explain that to your friends and your peers, and it just makes you a more rounded individual, and I would venture to say even American overall, if you're understanding what's happening in the market, right? So
right. Well, what do you do? Like, what are some things that you enjoy doing in this branch of like in finances and stuff like that?
Sure. So one of the benefits of investing in the market for me is just being aware. So it adds value to me in my work life, being aware of what's happening, and that in its own right is worth it to me. I don't dabble in day trading. It's too risky for me. I have in my own portfolio, I have gone ahead and purchased index funds and conservative stocks, blue chip stocks that have been around a long time that produce high dividends, because every time I have day traded in the past, much like Nick, I would make great earnings in a short period of time and lose it quickly. It's
tough. It's tough long term for sure. Yeah, it's gambling, definitely is. But you gotta
how do you guys
the right
feel
personality for it.
How do you guys feel about we talked about value a little bit earlier, and I was thinking about things like Supreme, like the brand, and that stuff is like really expensive, but it's literally just like a regular shirt with a red square. Shayne, this is where I want to pull you into this, because you're a bit more into the fashion than the rest of us. But
am I?
I think you are. I hope you are, because I need
here,
help.
Man. Yeah, you're definitely very savvy.
I worked at one store. Looks like you're the fashion guy.
Well, first of all, I've worked at 0 stores.
I worked at Timberland. That's where I worked.
Fair enough.
All right, so Nick, you're the fashion guy.
Yeah, Nick's got it more than me.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. Nice. All right, Nick. So Supreme, you probably own a bunch of shirts from that Mr. Fashion Guy.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But I was going to say, so does everyone know what I'm talking about? It's like a shirt the brand is Supreme, and it's just a
Never heard of
square. It's a white.
Pizza when you
my
brought
God.
Oh
Supreme.
wait.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it like that white?
You showed your hand. You showed your hand, Shayne. You are the fashion guy.
No, I didn't. I think I know what you're talking about.
I'm the fashion guy. I'm the one who knows about this.
Costs $2,200.
Yeah, it's like super expensive. And all it is a little red square that says in white letters Supreme. It's what the hello, how do you do, fellow kids?
What the heck
are
is
going
that?
for?
Market share of this, like how many? 9 sales. Wow.
11 locations. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh.
Their website's garbage. They didn't spend any money on their website because they're already making a ton of money or something.
$2,000 for a 20th anniversary of
I must
of
be
their
the fashion
t-shirt.
guy.
Wait,
What happened?
wait. $2,000 for the 20th anniversary t-shirt of their brand, and all it
T-shirt.
is a gray t-shirt, a gray cotton blend t-shirt with Supreme in a red box, and it's $2,000.
Yep. Okay.
I am skeptical that they've actually had 9 sales, so I think those are inflated numbers. Just
So-
to make people think they've.
Their
actually
socks are
sold
$100.
Oh,
Okay,
they're
so
a
this is
skateboarding
like-
company.
So
okay,
this
that's where
is
I've heard of
like
them.
this is the thing, okay?
This
So
is crazy.
So Gucci is another one of those
Gucci.
big top land. Now this one I know some people know, and they're like thousands of dollars, and all their clothes look weird. Like they're like
But
checkerboards
see,
and
that's
plaids.
a name thing. That's just
I know,
like,
but
the
it's
name,
still
but
like
no one's name is Supreme.
so they're really funky and weird, and they're expensive. Okay, that's Gucci, but Supreme is like expensive for being boring. But what I'm asking though is, it's like, well, it's just a cotton T-shirt, but,
but
this is
people
how we
wanna-
loop into the demand of what we were talking about earlier, and I wanted to know what you guys thought of that, because it seems fair to me.
Thought of what?
Insane.
If people want, some people would
What's the
say
question?
you're ripping them off by selling a cotton T-shirt that just has a square on it. What are your thoughts?
I don't think you're getting ripped off by the company.
Don't
I
pay
think
the money.
you're ripping
Don't buy
yourself
the
off
shirt.
by buying it. Yeah, exactly.
this
You're ripping
is-
yourself
this is
off by
your-
buying
it's
it.
your own decision to buy this stuff.
But what if there's
If you
no
think
shirts available
anyone's
and you're
gonna-
the only person that makes like medical? Let's put it. Let's get really deep in this, because I'm ready to get some discussions going.
Oh gosh.
What about the guy who invented the EpiPen and then charged thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for it?
You need to be compensated for your work.
How dare he?
A lot of people disagree with you.
I know. Yeah, people would
A
say
lot of
like,
people disagree with me, not disagree with me because they would want it to be free, because obviously you're saving my life. It should be free, but you're still paying for one, aren't you? So
So do we all not have a problem with?
This is a very strong ethical controversial issue.
It is. It is. That's
I
why I
can't
want
believe
people
you
to.
said this. No way. I'm staying out of that.
No,
Yeah.
nobody wants to talk about the EpiPen.
I'm gonna talk about it next
I'm
week.
just talking about not
Oh,
the EpiPen in
what?
general,
I
but
want
just
us to argue.
Jeez.
This is a part of value.
What
This is literally the healthcare
do
debate.
you, what?
I
why
know,
do you,
but
you
that's what
think
makes
that,
it interesting. If I invent
I
something
thought the
that has
argument
value,
was
no, listen.
should the
hold up, so
person.
Go ahead, Shane.
No, I thought the argument was the person who created or invented or whatever the EpiPen should be paid, not people should pay for it. I thought that
He
was
basically invented it and then is charging. It's like worth the plastic and the materials. All that stuff is worth like nothing. It's not that expensive to make it, but he invented it and he patented it, so no one else is allowed to make this thing.
yeah, it's a brand.
And then he spiked the price up, like super super high, like 1,000, like 100%, or well, I don't know, not 100%, but
I mean,
like 10 times what it costs or something like that. And people are really upset about that. Now, I don't really know what I think. That's why I get to go, ha, have fun, guys, because I don't know.
well,
Because I don't know how to stay consistent with this topic.
well, maybe not 10 times the amount that it costs to make, but I don't.
Well, why does
I
Supreme?
don't have an
why
issue.
does Supreme get to do it then?
because
see
people
now
want them.
now it's weird. I don't know.
Those aren't even. It's not weird because those aren't even close to being the same type of thing.
You have to define why though. Like when people say things aren't the same and then they can't tell me why they're not the same, then it's like you can't just say it's different.
I don't think the value of a t-shirt that I'm wearing for fashion purposes and a device that could save my life can be really compared to each other.
As an
Right,
inventor,
in terms of the value.
So as an inventor, I should incentivize inventors to not invent things that save people's lives because you won't get paid for it.
Right, but that's the
No, I
idea.
do think you should get paid for it.
I think
not.
I think everyone's got
sense.
everyone's got to make a living.
Want to charge.
Oh, really? Matt's
Absolutely.
I made it. Why not?
I don't believe in intellectual property, though.
What does that mean?
So copyrights, the idea that
What?
I don't believe there should be.
But then someone could just like steal my movie and just remake
associated
it.
with maybe. Okay, so let's reel it back a little bit. Intellectual property associated with pharmaceutical medical care, right?
Right.
So wait, so you think that you shouldn't have intellectual property in regards? Well, obviously, I'm not. Here's the thing: I don't want to say like. So what you're saying on record for the rest of forever is.
Sure.
But I'm just saying in this little thought experiment, you were saying that. You think you shouldn't have intellectual property in regards to medical equipment? Like if I invent a malaria something that's, if I could, we're posting pictures of Supreme things, and apparently there's a Supreme crowbar that's
And a beach
almost
ball.
$400. Yeah. So wait, all right. So Matt, what are you saying?
So I understand why this is challenging, right? Because we don't inherently want to invest in pharmaceutical companies because they have high costs associated with the research and development, and it's the problem is if they're going to have to resell this product, right? They have to recoup those research and development costs, and if somebody can come in behind them and use their invention, the EpiPen, and produce it and sell it for cheaper than what they can afford to sell it because they have to recoup the R&D costs where another institution would not, and that's the line where you say. That isn't right. That isn't fair. To me, I believe anyone should be able to sell anything for any price that they decide, and we are not entitled to anything, no matter what it is. As a consumer.
So if I make a T-shirt that is, so if I buy a Hanes T-shirt at Walmart for $1, and then I just sign it, okay, and I just call it Luke's signed T-shirts, and I sell them for $1 million a piece. You're saying that if somebody wants to pay $1 million, the way I see it in some ways, that's their problem.
I agree with that 100%. Yes.
Right. Because I probably won't sell any shirts. You know?
Exactly.
That's the risk and reward of it. The higher the price, the higher the reward, but the more risk that you won't sell as many. Mm-hmm. But it does get tricky when it gets into like Medicare because it's like
life and death, right?
I don't know on this stuff, but I know a lot of people have strong opinions of it, and I didn't know if we have differing opinions on it. I don't know. I don't know. What about this?
I have my thoughts, but
You don't
want
wanna
to
say 'em?
I've
not
said
ready?
my thoughts already.
I just know there's just the idea, the value being weighed is different in that there's more of an intrinsic value in someone's life than a monetary one, I guess.
Sure, it's precious.
So then,
But whose interest though?
for that other person's
economically,
interests,
No,
it's
obviously I have
not.
my own
That's the
interests of
thing.
my own life.
that's the thing. You put aside the monetary
Like
aspect.
if I could have all the medical care and stuff that I wanted for free, I probably would want it for free.
Yeah,
Because that works out way better for me.
Everyone would love that. But
What I'm saying is that like
in
in terms of the economy, that's the thing is like think about
It's not ideal for an economy.
Sociopathically, let's think about the economy. Is it better for the economy for someone to invent the EpiPen and upcharge it, or to not do that? And I don't know.
That is a loaded question, my friend. There's a lot there
I know.
that you can
I
get
love
into.
it though. I love talking about this stuff because we're talking about like CEOs and like people. I don't like it when people tell me that CEOs shouldn't be paid a lot of money because of whatever reason. It's like, well, that's like, oh, they get paid 10 times what their workers get paid.
Now
And
you're
it's
getting
like
into my economics wheelhouse.
yeah, but it's like, well, why is that? I'm not saying that that's not wrong, but that by definition is not wrong. Like, oh, he gets paid 10 times. Well, does he bring 10 times the value to the economy?
In some ways, maybe.
If he's a rent seeker, then no.
Right.
But if he's making a company that employs 100 people, then he's bringing value then more than 10 times.
Are you familiar with the pharmaceutical company Valiant?
No.
So,
Well, I know of them, but I don't know why you're bringing them up.
a couple years ago,
Speaking of stock prices,
they were a very hot stock pick, right? Basically, their business practice was to purchase a pharmaceutical company that had a unique drug on the market that no one else had, and basically take the copyrights or the patents associated with that drug, and then have all the rights to them, and so no one else can make it, right? And then they would just cut off all the R&D aspect of the business, right? They would lop it down to instead of being above 8% of gross revenues to just less than 5%, and so it make the company very profitable, right? And they would just charge a ridiculous price for a life-saving drug, and they would do this over and over again. And then Valiant's stock price went through the roof. We're talking it went from maybe $20 to over $300 in just a matter of a couple years, because it was basically a private equity company that was just acquiring more and more pharmaceutical companies and then cutting capex expenses out the wazoo and just making horrible ethical decisions, just charging everyday Americans astronomical prices for drugs they need to sustain life. And it left a lot of people with a little bit more than heartburn. Like, this isn't just, something you take with Tums. For example, it's, your brother, your sister needs this life-saving medication, and at one time it was, $20 to fill their prescription. Now it's $80,000 to fill their prescription. It's
right.
Yeah.
It's so difficult because I don't know how to answer that question. Because here's the thing. I don't like that. Where it's like, I don't like that a company can do that. Now, how can I keep a company from doing that but stay consistent with other things? So as an example, if I had a company and I needed an iPhone to contact my employees, and for whatever reason, let's say if I don't have that iPhone, I can't manage the company correctly, and then all my employees would lose their jobs. So I need that iPhone, right?
Right.
And so iPhones, let's say for whatever reason, iPhones are $10,000. Okay? But I need that iPhone. So does that mean that the company shouldn't be allowed to sell it for $10,000 just because I need it really bad for very bad reasons? And I don't know that I can comfortably say yes. So how do I stay consistent with that and then go over to the medicine? Now, the thing is, like, I want everyone to have medicine. Just to say that for the psychos that are listening that are going to tweet at me and ruin my life.
Well, you're in Seattle, my friend.
I know. but that's the thing, is like, I want everybody to be safe, and I want everyone to get medicine, and I want to protect as many people as possible. But I also understand, because I'm smart, the concept of slippery slopes, where it's like, well, because you did that, now we have to do this. And I'm trying to say, like, how do I stay consistent in my head with this? And that's where I struggle.
Do you think it is more beneficial to society as a whole to reward those that invent new life-saving drugs, to reward them, compared to maintain life for those that is life by medicine or right? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Not exactly, but I do know that
say that again.
There's different points of view on viewing the way I view life. Individually, I value everyone's life. But like in an economy, it's a little bit more sociopathic, where it's like, yeah, but I also would be like, well, dude, this homeless person doesn't have enough money to buy food, so I'm just going to take individually someone else's money and give it to him for no reason. It's like, well, what about the other person? Dude, the guy's going to die. And this isn't even like a specific
sure,
like healthcare example. It's just saying, I can't just say none of the rules apply anymore that we made because this person's going to die now. Right? And so that's what makes it complicated.
Yeah, it is very complicated.
But what's your question exactly, though? I didn't quite understand it.
So are you accepting of the idea that inventors or people that create these life-saving drugs be compensated fairly and accordingly, or is it more important that these drugs be made available to everyone and then we just stop the inventing new drugs?
It's a I was gonna say it's a chicken or the egg, because if you don't incentivize the inventors, people are gonna be like, oh, wow, I put all this work into inventing this drug, and now I'm dying I'm starving. I invented this drug, but now I have no money because no one paid me, so now I'm starving. So just letting everybody know, if you want to invent a drug, don't do it, because the government will swoop in and take it from you, and you won't make any money. So that's not good, right? That's
Did you
bad.
do that, Luke? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Yes.
and then I had to start YouTube. No, but like, so
We're
that's
here for you, Luke.
So that's one scenario, but then the other scenario is like, I invent a drug that is gonna benefit the economy as a whole. Like, let's say I cure malaria, and then I say you can only have one drop for one person at $1 million a pop. Now it's like, well, now no one can use it, because kind of people say that about cancer. There's people out there that believe that the government has cured cancer, but economically it's not good for them to cure cancer. Yeah. So they're hoarding the drug in a little safe. Right. And they're not giving it out. I don't know how anyone has any proof of that, but...
Conspiracy theories, man.
But what if that was true, right? Then it's like, now what? Do we just force them?
Well, there is an idea that letting the creative people do their thing and be compensated well and be motivated by greed, that they will solve the problems of those who are less fortunate. So people like Elon Musk providing solar panels for those that don't have power grids in Puerto Rico, or Boyan Slat, I think his name is. He's working on a project to clean up the entire, all the oceans with
I know that guy,
technology that he created. Or look at what's happening with global warming. Like, it kind of solves it's starting to solve itself here in the U.S. Unfortunately, not in China, but in the U.S., it's starting to trend down as much as we produce. The amount of emissions that we produce, we don't need a government intervention or just another power to hold reign and distribute stuff accordingly in order to accomplish a goal. It kind of works out on itself because people work in their best interest. That's kind of the first principle of a rational market, I guess.
Right. Which is the argument for capitalism, that
exactly.
Things will work themselves out.
And
I have heard the argument
exactly why this is such a challenging issue, because consumers aren't able to, operate rationally when their life is at risk if they do not have this drug, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we have all this heartache associated with this, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That is it's so weird to think about, because I wonder if there's a way to measure the effect on the economy based on the decision to hoard the drug and upcharge it. Right. Because the weirdest thing about it is being able to say no one else is allowed to compete with me because I patent this, but then I'm going to upcharge it, because that's kind of like a monopoly in a way.
Sure.
I guess, by definition.
Yeah, like your EpiPen example, right?
But if someone invents an iPhone and then says no one else is allowed to invent phones anymore, and our iPhone sucks, but we're going to charge thousands of dollars for it, and we're not allowing anyone to research and develop a new iPhone or a new smartphone in general, that's not good.
Right.
So now I'm like, how are they able to patent the EpiPen? I don't know how that works.
Well,
I mean, there's going to be knockoff EpiPens, right?
I don't know.
And there are knockoff. I mean, it still is a market. It still is a competition happening there.
So what's everyone upset about then?
The fact that he did it, and it's people are arguing the morality of it, not the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's very
logic.
moral. I don't think it's very well. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I guess. Oh man, this is complicated.
Because I'm sure there are. I don't know much about it. I know of it, but I don't know. Much
I don't
about
either.
It.
I didn't even plan to talk about this.
Well, I don't use
but I
EpiPens,
like that we're talking
right?
about it.
But
I love
just,
talking about stuff like this.
I assume that there's something that the original EpiPen has that maybe the knockoffs don't, and you don't want to risk that for your child. So, or
only the best
whoever's
for
using that. So
your little one, right? That's completely rational.
I'm sure there's like an aspect to that. So anyway, I don't know much about it, but sorry, I didn't want to bog it down since I knew you had a bunch of topics on the list, and we've gotten through 1.5. So
this is the stuff I like. Like, this is what this podcast is supposed to be about. This type of discussion. This is what I like. But
it's definitely a conversation that you kind of have to wrestle with. That you can't take a firm stance one way or another, or there's just an ethical dilemma.
I don't know the answer to this, which is why I'm so interested in trying to talk about it. Because when there's one thing where it says there's a whole law in California getting passed right now, because if you get arrested and you have to post bail, pay money to get out, you're kind of screwed. Excuse me. You're screwed if you're poor because you can't get out. But if you're rich, you can just post bail and get out really quick, right?
Right.
The only thing that I see with that, though, is if you're rich in a perfect world, obviously there's some exceptions to this. I was just thinking about this today. If you're rich, then that means you're providing more value to the economy, which means you're helping more people, which means maybe you should have more power to get out. Now, hold up. Where that gets confusing is if someone is unethically or not putting money or not putting stuff into the economy, and therefore they're not worth as much. I don't know. That's the point of money, right? I know what I'm saying is funky and weird, but I'm just thinking out loud. Is that wrong?
Wealth distribution amongst the different disparity between the top 1% and the rest of the United States is astronomical. It's something you should absolutely Google if you just take the time. It's hard to say that the rich getting richer is because they're adding that much more value to
right, but that's not a perfect world. That's not a perfect world, though, and that's the world we live in.
True.
So if we can figure out how to do it I can't say that actually. If money was all perfect and people couldn't cheat it, right? Mm-hmm. The perfect scenario or the perfect world case for money would be the people who have the most money are bringing the most value to the most people's lives, whether that's medicine, food, opportunity,
entertainment.
Right.
Yeah, even that, something that makes them happier, right? Mm-hmm. If in the perfect world, those people would have the most money, right? Thoughts?
In a perfect world.
Okay.
Sure.
So now we have an imperfect world where someone makes a ton of money because they what's an example of that? I don't want to say that they're
won the lottery.
No, because the lottery gives the opportunity to everyone because everyone's buying in.
Okay.
So everyone is getting the chance to win the lottery, so everyone is paying money into it. So it's establishing a value somewhere. But if it's Nick, I keep saying rent seekers because I know this is what a lot of podcasts are on. Do you know what I'm saying? What I mean when I say that?
Rent seeking? Aren't those people that go in and try to manipulate, maybe policies or just certain conditions in the area?
Yeah, it's some sort of sneaky.
Profits?
Yeah, it's a way that you
It's
you
a
make
corrupt
money.
way to make money.
You make money, but you don't give anyone else any opportunity or value. So you're not giving people food, money, opportunity. So you're making money, but you're not putting it into the economy somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're not establishing value in the economy.
You're forcing people to act a certain way in order to provide either more profits or keep profits.
So that's a negative way to establish value or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. This is such a complicated podcast topic. I didn't even mean for it to get down this road.
Shayne, you there?
Yeah.
Help me! I'm making it complicated. I'm gonna get myself in trouble somehow with this podcast episode, probably because I said something about rich people.
Shayne's looking at the beach. Shayne's looking at the beach balls I put.
That's not the worst thing you've done, Luke. You're fine.
That's right. Rich people are evil, right, guys? All of them. every single one. Does that make it better?
all the rich people
No.
tweet at Luke about your this favor in this.
That's right. I know. Hey, they probably have a lot of followers. Oh, that's one thing I want to get to. We are running out of time, but I do want to bring up one more thing. Currencies. So we didn't even get to fiat currencies, gold currencies, Bitcoin, any other stuff. Sorry, I was trying to make this a topic, and I feel like this was the best topic out of all.
I was thinking about Bitcoin a lot because I love the idea of it.
So we can talk about
a couple bits of knowledge to share.
Oh no!
I'm working too hard at it. Sorry, guys.
So we have two options. We can talk about Bitcoin as a currency or attention as a currency.
I'm going to talk about Bitcoin personally. I'm a Bitcoin junkie, or I just like like I said, I like the idea of it.
All right, Matt, what do you think?
I think Nick is a smart man that has good conversation topics, and we should proceed with that.
All right, Shane, do you have any thoughts? I feel like if we have one prepared.
Oh, good point, Shane. What do you think?
Thoughts on what?
On Bitcoin, going from talking to Bitcoin as a currency or attention as a currency.
Oh, yeah, Bitcoin's cool. Like, should it be like what currency? Is that what the question?
Just let's talk about it. Let's see what Nick has to say. He sounds like he's prepared. And I kind of screwed him a little bit by having him bring a bunch of stuff, and then I just took the podcast in a completely different direction. Just a little bit.
I'm a well-educated man in that I went to school once.
It's right.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
In other words, all of us are well-educated.
80% of other Americans have done.
Yay.
All right. Bitcoin.
BitConnect.
Ready for your thoughts.
All right, you take the floor, Nick. Go.
Oh, well, if you don't know what Bitcoin is part of this new technology called blockchain. And blockchain is basically like, think of a financial ledger or just like an account book. It's a transaction system that people use, and it's super secure, and it's really cool. And it takes out the middleman, so you no longer need to use a bank. You no longer need to use PayPal, Venmo. You can just make monetary exchanges between people in a secure way with your own money for whatever you want to do. So what the cool thing about it is that people like to use it because it's untrackable. It's secure, but it's also untrackable. And so you see a lot of it being used on the black market, or I guess the dark web.
Oh no!
Ooh.
Yeah, and so
all right,
people
let's
buy
delete
drugs.
Bitcoin.
But
delete all of them. What if you could just erase Bitcoin?
Yeah, right. But the whole idea of like blockchain and stuff is really cool because it takes out the middleman. And so it's a technology that people are starting to use to just exchange information. And so you can use it for to store account information, medical records, things like that, and it's super secure.
Now, isn't it the reason it's worth anything? Because it's weird because you're like, well, it's computer. What? So what does that mean? Couldn't you just be like, hack more Bitcoin and create more? Is that there's some sort of algorithm set up with it so that there's a limited supply of Bitcoin available? Like it's some sort of numbers or something. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as a very explain like I'm 5 explanation.
That's part of it, yeah.
Like Bitcoin would be like, this is Bitcoin number 1. This is Bitcoin number 2, number 3. And then those are the only ones that exist. Mm-hmm. And there's like a million of them. And that's it. It's like gold. Like all the gold in the world could fit in a swimming pool.
Right.
And that's it. So gold doesn't fluctuate in value because you can't make more of it.
Right, exactly.
Bitcoin is the same theory.
And so, yeah, then you get one Bitcoin that used to be a penny, and then it's worth $10,000 because all the Bitcoins are gone, and there's a huge demand for it, and low supply, and so the value goes up exponentially. And so that's how you make, $5 million in a few years.
Yeah.
After spending a couple pennies. And so the power behind it is incredible because it's done without government regulation. It's done without another third party, and that's huge and dangerous all at the same time. So I like it. I think it's kind of cool. And I was invested in it at one point, but I haven't really put money into it since. I just
Now I've heard that Bitcoin is not a good idea to invest in because if the only reason it has value is because everyone agrees it has value, kind of like money, except
All fiat
it's
currency.
a lot harder to take that fiat currency away from the dollar because everyone in the US uses the dollar.
Right.
Only some people use Bitcoin. So if it's like it's not going to catch on the same way. I don't know. I've heard that argument that everyone's going to invest all this money into it, and eventually enough people are going to be like, no, we don't care about this, and then it just goes away. Because if it's that Bitcoin is like what's a good example? If we all decided that gold was worth nothing, well, I don't know. I guess that's the way. Man, this stuff is complicated. Currencies are so weird, especially when you say like Bitcoin is worth X amount of dollars. It's like, well, so you sell the Bitcoin to get dollars, but now you have dollars, and now you don't have Bitcoin. So like, if we're gonna move to the Bitcoin currency, you don't have it now. You got dollars now, and then it's like, well, okay, so just keep your Bitcoin. Well, then everyone else has dollars, and you can't buy anything with Bitcoin because no one uses it. You know, so I don't really understand how do you switch? How is it ever worth anything?
Well, how would you even switch? Because don't you buy the Bitcoins with money?
Mm-hmm.
So
And then you
like,
can exchange it.
I don't
but how
understand.
would
I don't know what's the process.
how would that become a currency if you have to purchase it to begin with?
Everyone moves to Bitcoin.
But I don't think
And
you.
we just
I don't
get
think that's
them.
gonna happen.
How does it get
types of
distributed?
currency all over the world, right?
How
So
do you-
exchange
how do you
happens
make that
all
happen?
the time.
How do you make that happen?
Okay, so giving Bitcoin true value in an honest shot, it would have to be endorsed by a organization like the International Monetary Fund, right? It would have to be a non-nationally regulated organization because
Yeah, but
the
in
reason why
a
it has appeal is
cartoon way?
because it is incognito, right?
Right.
But
But in a cartoon way, that's basically just a lot of people saying, "Okay, this is money now."
yeah, this is what we're doing now. Yeah, but how does one?
They just have a title.
How does one receive the Bitcoin? Is my question. Like, how would we all get Bitcoins to use?
Like I have
You could have a-
hundreds
you could have a
of thousands
Bitcoin
of dollars.
own account, just like any other checking account you have. It'd be,
Yeah.
you know, like
So,
a
but are we
wallet or-
now working for Bitcoins instead of working for dollar bills?
Perhaps if that's
If that were to happen,
But
That'd be so weird.
Yeah, it'd be
I
crazy.
know I'm just confused because, well, whatever.
And then
Yeah,
you could-
I'm
you
on
could
the same boat. I don't know how
trade
you
your-
shift.
No, we're
I'm-
all in the same boat, Luke. That's why
I'm
we're
just questioning how do you shift when you have to use our current currency
that
to
would
buy
be
the
great.
Bitcoin?
Hold.
Not
Say that again, Nick.
realistic.
Or sorry, Shane. Say that. Shane, again. Say that again.
No, I'm just confused because you have to buy Bitcoins with your own money. So how would Bitcoins become like our go-to currency if you have to purchase it to begin with? Do we spend all of
I
our
know,
money?
One person.
Do we spend all of
one
our money to
person
get
ends up with-
Bitcoins and then we just go from there? What was the point? We might as well just use the money.
Yeah, really. One person has most of the Bitcoin, and then he sells us all the Bitcoin, and now he has all the money.
Yeah,
and then
it's
he's
like,
like,
then what?
all right, forget Bitcoin. Let's switch back to
confused.
money now.
Yeah.
Like
It would have
I
to
just
be
don't know
like
how you
a-
decide.
like a regulated tender by like the International Money Fund, basically.
But like I said,
Ooh,
that's
or-
literally just a bunch of people saying
Bitcoins-
this is official now.
No, Bitcoins are distributed based on your value as a human being to society. So, like, you know,
Well, I'm not gonna get any.
exactly. Well, no, none of us probably would. But
Bezos
negative
gets
Bitcoin.
all of them. That's the end. Amazon gets all the Bitcoin. So,
Yeah.
guys, we do have to wrap up this episode because we are going over time now. Is there anything that Nick or Shane or Matt that you guys would like to say before we wrap things up?
Absolutely, I have a quick plug, if that's okay.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
We're not at that segment yet.
Okay.
Sorry, Matt's new. Matt's new. He doesn't know. He doesn't know
A
how
little
this
too
works.
anxious. A little too anxious there, Matt. Calm down, please.
You should
I'm
feel
sorry, guys.
you're a guest on the podcast,
isn't
and you
about
should
you.
feel bad for not knowing exactly.
Down to my core, guys.
All right, all right. So, on this topic, before we wrap up the topic and go into the plugs, sorry to not clarify that for you, Matt.
It's
Any
okay.
questions or anything
I've
you want
learned.
to cover?
I've learned.
Nick?
Oh, just keep your dollar bills.
Keep your dollar bills.
That is so accurate. Save your money.
To summarize this entire podcast,
Extremely important.
keep
Hey,
your
man.
dollar bills there.
Dollar bills.
Hey man, it just came out today that on the dark web you can buy the information of 130 million Chinese hotel clients for 8 Bitcoin.
Well, then I'm
That's
going
it.
over.
That's
Honestly,
Book
that's
of
worth
business.
it.
Wow.
And supply and demand, my friend.
That is
That's an example asset,
honestly, that is worth it. I'm buying 8 Bitcoins tonight.
There you go. And just like
That's right.
that,
They're only
I convinced Shayne.
$100,000. How much is 10 Bitcoin worth in money? right now?
I think a
60,000.
10
40?
Bitcoin is 60,000. Yeah,
Wow. All right. Well,
and they
So,
get the 8
all right.
Bitcoin. Yeah, it'd be like
Gentlemen.
40,000.
let us wrap up this episode. Shayne, do you have any plugs?
Yes, you can check out the podcast that I host, the Pop Talk Podcast, SoundCloud and iTunes at Pop Talk Podcast. Super excited about what is going on there. Kind of started to change the format a little bit of how the podcast is run. I've said this before, but if you don't know, the goal is to eventually get it turned into, or still keep the podcast, but turn it into like an online radio show. So I'm kind of formatting the podcast to fit that style more, just to give it
Man.
a type of edge that I don't feel like other podcasts have necessarily. So trying new things with that. So I'm excited about the episode that is
Cool.
coming out. Whenever you hear this episode, this podcast, it should be out by then. So follow that. And then also too, if you want to check out the musical that I wrote, directed, you can find that on my channel. That's just my name, Patty, AYNECCATTY. Wrote the musical, wrote the songs, choreographed all the dances. So that was cool. We made our own CD of that. If you want to buy a CD, hit me up. Sell you
Yo,
a CD.
nice.
So I did all that cool stuff. That's why I was absent from the podcast for a long time. I was, on Broadway for a little bit. And thank you. And yeah, and just some cool things that are in the works, but for future announcements later on. My Twitter, follow me on
Awesome.
Twitter at Mr. McCatty, MRMCCATTY. You can tweet.
Beautiful. All right. Nick, do you have any plugs?
Of course. As usual,
I love it when people have plugs.
I love drumming. I don't just love it. I also named my Facebook, my YouTube, and my Instagram by that name. So I love drumming without the G at the end, all one word. I love drumming. And yeah, that. Oh, and stay away from my Twitter, please.
Why?
If you go
Do not
near my
follow.
Twitter, you will
Do
blow
not
up.
follow his
I'm going
Twitter
to his Twitter
ads.
right now.
I love drumming
I'm
without
going
the
to
G.
the
Do
Twitter
not
right now.
follow him
do it.
on Twitter.
Reverse psychology. It's like the stock
Unless you
market.
like laughing.
I'm pretty sure, don't I?
No, it'll just make you sad.
Oh,
doesn't like being sad?
Well,
right.
I just followed I Love Drumming on Twitter.
Dang
and I'm very upset.
Matt.
I'm already
all right,
crying.
All right, stop. Okay, we got to finish this episode, you guys. We got to finish this episode. So, Matt, do you have any plugs? Apparently,
Yes, of course. Thanks, Luke. So my plug is just the idea I'm very excited about recently. It's successful people truly know what they want, and they're willing to pay the price associated with, earning what they want. So they're willing to, they're ready to pay the price associated with greatness. So whether that's, getting up earlier than the rest, doing the small things that no one else wants to do, and doing them better than others. So pay the price, people, to be great.
There you go. There's a little life tip as a plug. It's awesome. We haven't had
It's
something
true,
like
though.
that before. That's actually kind of cool.
It's
I should
very
tell
true.
people that that's an option. Be like, hey, do you have any advice that you'd like to throw at the...
That's a
the
great
crowd.
idea.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Glad you came up with that.
I'm so glad I thought of it. All right, so Matt, just so you realize, I'm going to do my plugs really quick, but then we're going to end, and then we're going to say 3, 2, 1, and then all together, we're going to say outro music, okay? Not yet. I'm going to do my plugs real quick, and then we're going to go to that. So
Sounds good.
you can follow me
Thanks
on
for
Twitter
bringing
at Luke Roxwold, LukeRockswold. You can go to my YouTube channel. I had 2 goals this year. One was to run up this hill 7 times in 7 days. Check. Did that. And my other goal was to vlog 7 vlogs in 7 days. Check. 2 goals done in a week and a half.
The
is
hill's,
also-
for those that don't know, the hill's
goals.
like 10.
Well
it's like
done.
10 feet. It's like 10 feet. It's like a small.
Yeah, that's
hill.
right.
Setting
10 feet up.
goals and achieving them.
That's right. So I did that. My vlog channel is doing very well. I released a video last weekend, and it got 12,000 views in like 72 hours.
Oh yeah.
So
Sorry about the low views, man. You'll do better on the next one.
That's right. I successfully went viral for like a few hours, and that was really, really cool. But check out my YouTube channel that's Twitter. Check out my YouTube channel.
It still
Luke
is
Roxwold
at,
Vlogs.
actually.
No, wrong. I disagree.
Okay.
Fight me. Okay.
Luke Roxwold Vlogs.
And tweet at our podcast, WAITSB podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. It is really good
You shouldn't have done
to
this.
be back on the what?
It was a mistake to listen to us.
It was the
Don't
best
listen to
decision
Nick
you've
and
made
go
all.
follow him on Twitter.
It was the
All
best
right,
decision
everybody.
you've made all week.
Don't tell
We're
me
gonna
what to do.
say outro music
Outro
on
music.
3.
Oh.
Stop. Wait. Stop.
What about
We're
on
not-
1?
It ruins
Stop.
the whole mood if you like.
Now
know?
everything's ruined. 3, 2, 1. Outro
Outro.
music. Good to be back.